What's up everyone, welcome back to the channel. Back at Via Motor in Sheffield again today. Those who don't know, they are the Honda, Piaggio, Vespa, Aprilia and Motor Guzzi dealership, and they are fantastic. Now about 2-3 months ago I got the world's first ever road test review of the new Tuono 660. And surprising actually amount of comments on that review. How does it compare to the Honda CB650R? Well, I aim to answer that question for you today, guys. So I've already done an in-depth review of the Tuono, so I'm not going to do that again, but if you haven't seen it, just check that here first. But what I am going to do is I'm going to take the Tuono out first, just to give myself a refresher, so that I can make a sort of fair comparison with everything being fresh in my mind. So I'm going to take the Tuono out first, give you a quick reminder of what I think about that, what it's like, and then we'll take the Honda for a bit more of an in-depth review, and then I'll make a bit of a comparison and give some conclusions at the end. So yeah, let's get suited. Right, so let's go and take the Tuono for a quick reminder blast, so we can be completely fair to the Honda. As I said in the intro, I'm not going to do a full review of this. I've done it already. I did a really in-depth one. Look up here for that video. I'm just going to take this out for a quick blast around the bypass and bike, because I wanted to just refresh my mind, so I could give the Honda, which is really the point of the video, but so I can give it a fair comparison. I was really quite taken back actually by how many people came in the comments on the Tuono video and were considering the Honda as well and wanted a comparison, because stereotypically, and this is based on nothing other than just my unfounded sort of weird view on things, I look at the Honda as more of a sort of everyday utility, commuting, workhorse type bike, and I look at this as more of a fun weekend blaster in my head. Now I haven't ridden the Honda yet, so I'm not saying that to be true, but that was my initial impressions. Jumping on this again, like it immediately reminds me how much fun it is. I slightly preferred this over the RS 660, slightly more comfortable. I just found it a bit more fun. There's arguments to be made about, you know, should it have a quick shifter, or like, you know, you can option it, whatever. But the noise. But it gives a really nice noise. It's got plenty of poke. But yeah, I preferred this to the RS version. Just thought it was more fun. It's got a slightly different gearing, slightly shorter gearing than the RS one, so it sort of feels like it pulls better from low down. I'm sure the RS is better on trike, yada yada. I'm not sure how many people who buy a Tuono or an RS 660 are going to take on trike. Maybe a few RSs actually, but for the most part they're going to be used on the road, right? And yeah, the first impressions of this are, it's got a lovely noise, really nice noise. It just feels pretty exciting. And I love riding these sort of middleweight bikes, really do. I kind of cut my teeth on motorbikes on these kind of bikes. Yeah, sorry, so flickable. Yeah, and look, there's no lack of power and grunt on the roads. I struggle to, I was saying, I struggle to, yeah. I love these kind of bikes because you can really use them to a lot more of their potential on the road. So yeah, look, just cruising along, real quick recap, everything's as I remember, super comfortable, the exhaust makes a gorgeous noise, this parallel twin engine on this standard can, listen to that, yeah, very nice. Yeah, really nice noise, it's exciting, it wants to lift the front wheel, it's really light and flickable, the brakes are great, and this paintwork and build quality is outstanding. The front end of these new Aprilias, I said it on the Tuono video that I did recently, it's just, they've really put that front end together. I think it looks, what did I say, masterpiece. They've sorted the dashboard out a bit, this screen looks pretty cool, tinted screen, dashboard could be a bit more modern, but you know, I'm really picking faults for no reason here. It's got a full improved electronics pack, so you've got all the anti-wheelie, engine management, ABS, blah 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 blah. I've been through all this before on the video, go and watch that, but it's a fucking riot, this bike, is the Cliff Notes. What's a giggle? Might need to blur that. You can have an absolute riot on this bike. There's all the power that you need on the road, trust me. Any more than that and you're just gonna end up in prison. Oh, it just gives like a little grumble through it as you're accelerating it. The sort of visceral experience of it just it kind of asks you to rag it a bit, if I'm honest. I really do love these middleweights, and this so far, from what I've ridden on the naked class at least, is the best. So let's head back to Via Moto now I'm sort of refreshed my mind and see how the Honda compares to this. Right, literally jumping straight off the Tuono, straight onto the CB650R. Right, first impressions are, it feels shorter, it also feels lower a little bit. Bars feel a bit closer to me, and obviously there's not anything around the front here, so it feels a bit more compact. Dashboard's a bit more basic, but this paintwork, I have to say, it's like a Nardo grey colour, pretty nice. Right, so I'm going to do my usual thing, what I do on reviews with this one. I'm going to give you my opinions of it, initial impressions, go and ride it for a couple of hours and give you some more in-depth views on it. We'll do a walk around and all that good stuff, and then but at the end of it I'll compare it to Tuono. But initial impressions, like I say, feels lovely and comfy, touch more upright, maybe a touch than the Tuono. Like I say, you feel a bit closer to the bars and a bit shorter. Probably suit a shorter rider slightly better than this. Yes, it's not as vibey. It certainly doesn't sound as nice, I'll be honest. The Tuono on standard cans sounds fantastic, but it is really smooth. It's not slow. It's not got that torque of the Tuono, but it's got enough. Yeah, not bad. Actually, better than I thought. Like I say, I'll be honest, I had this bike down mentally as a bit of a workhorse, really, a bit boring. Yeah. Let's keep an open mind, because this is interesting. So yeah, they're quick first impressions. I don't want to go on about it too much. I tend to rattle on a bit in these videos, but yeah, screen's a bit basic, bit shorter, bit lower, bit more comfortable. Engine smoother, 4-cylinder engine, obviously. Plenty of power. Just see how it turns in here. Yeah, it doesn't tip in quite as quick as the Tuono, and it's missing a bit of that low down grunt, but I suspect once I can open it up and you rev it out, in fact, let's pull away from these lights while we can keep it legal. See what it's like in the first couple of gears. Alright. Yeah, okay, so it's not bad. It's not as fast as the Tuono. It certainly doesn't feel it. It doesn't feel as sort of rapid and exciting. You've got to wring the nuts off it, it appears, to do that, but it's lovely and smooth, it's pleasant, suspension feels nice and comfortable, going over these bumps it feels pretty compliant, I would say at least on par with the Tuonos. It doesn't feel as nimble and as quick to turn in, but I'll give that some time. Definitely not as flickable. Yeah, there's a little bit of top end. Yeah, okay. Let me go and ride it, and I'll come back in a bit. Right, so been done a few miles on this now. Got a bit more of an opinion, so I will share it for what it's worth. So let's do this properly then. So start from the drivetrain. So I'm not keen on the throttle. The throttle's a bit snatchy. Look, there's a lot of free play there, and it's a little bit snatchy, the throttle. There's something not quite right with the fueling on this. I don't know, they're all like that. It's okay once you're going, but that play in the throttle's not great. But that does translate through to a really nice, smooth engine. This 650 4-cylinder engine is lovely. It doesn't feel as fast as the Tuono. Obviously I've not done any scientific tests, but it doesn't feel as fast as the Tuono, and it's certainly not as torquey, but the layout of the engine would make that so anyway, with that being a twin and this being a 4. So that sort of instant access to power and low down grunt is much better with the Tuono, and that leads to a more exciting ride. But the Tuono does a nice little trick where it also seems to still have that sort of little rapid rush at the top end as well, and it just feels faster, more exciting, to be honest. But this is not slow, so if you bought this, you wouldn't think, oh my god, this is such a dog. It's just when you put it next to the Tuono, which is kind of the point of the video, right, it doesn't feel as exciting, but it's not as vibey either. So maybe on a long journey or on a commute where your only real objective is to get to work in comfort with as little aggravation as possible, you know, there's arguments to be made for this. The gearbox is nice, if anything, maybe slightly slicker than the Tuonos, but this has done a few more miles, so maybe that needs bedding in, but there's not much in it. Both the gearboxes are great. The Tuono didn't have the quick shifter or blipper either, neither does this. It's a fair comparison, but you know, it's no big deal to just clutch the upshift. I mean, it's not really much different to the auto blipper function, the quick shifter function, frankly. It's just the old school way of doing it. Build quality, this feels good, not quite as special as the Tuono. This paint is lovely. It's on par with the Tuono, the paintwork. Switch gear's nice, no cruise, that's a miss. Dashboard, definitely more basic. That needs updating to compete with the Tuono, although there is a fuel gauge, which is nice. Brakes, excellent. Not, again, we're talking real nitpicky fractions here, but not quite as good as the Tuono. The mirrors are better than the Tuono, that's a plus. Now handling, I haven't really tested it properly yet, but as if I planned this video, here are some twisters. So yeah, there's definitely a rush. There's definitely a rush, but it's just not quite enough. Let's see how this handles. Pretty shit roads actually, but yeah, it seems to go, and no, you just want a bit more. You just want a little bit more in the mid-range. But handling wise, right, let's give this a couple of corners. little bit more harsh over those rough bumps than the Tuono. Okay. Yeah, those brakes are not as good, definitely not. It turns in slower, so it seems to turn in a little bit slower than I'd want. On these fast ones, it might not show because the GoPro's pretty good at hiding imperfections, but the suspension I can feel is working a lot harder than the Tuono, and thus I'm working harder. It's getting a bit more, as I'm pushing around here, it's getting a bit more out of shape. Yeah, okay. It's not, okay, so handling, it's not as sporty as the Tuono. It's perfectly capable though, don't get me wrong. I mean, that was fun. It was just that on the Tuono, you sort of side through those bends there, and I do this road all the time. I'll try and keep it to the same road. It's not for, I'm not trying to make the video boring, but it just helps me give in my head, it helps me compare things when I know it's what something else was like on the same bit of tarmac, if that makes sense. Anyway, whatever. Yeah, the Tuono seems to sort of effortlessly effortlessly side through those set of bends back there. Whereas this was a bit more hard work, and I can feel particularly the front end sort of, how can I phrase this, arguing with me a bit, shall we say, whereas the Tuono just felt a lot more planted, even though it turned in quicker. This turns in slower, and the suspension just doesn't quite want to do what you want it to. It has got a really nice smooth engine though. There's nothing wrong with the power. Yeah, nothing wrong at all. Right, okay. I'm going to go and ride it a bit more now, and I'll give a proper sort of comparison somewhere at the end. So just to finish off that bit though, I think that's everything really. So I've gone through the powertrain, I've gone through the handling, I've gone through the build quality. Brakes, like I say, not quite as good, they need a bit more. Desirability, I mean, that's each to their own, but I mean the Aprilias they're pretty special, let's be honest. The Hondas are, and I was a victim of this, they tend to look at them as a bit utilitarian sometimes. They've not been the brand that's sort of garnered the most excitement over recent years, unfortunately, after some of the heyday that they had with some of their cooler bikes. But again, what's your use case? What do you want this bike for? Yeah, right. I'm starting to sum up now, so I'm going to give this a bit more opportunity to shine. So I'm going to go ride it some more, and then we'll do some more sort of final comparison and thoughts, and then a head-to-head comparison what I think of the two. Catch you in a bit. Right. We've been out on this Honda CB650R for a while now, and I'm gonna sort of wrap up my thoughts about how this feels in comparison to the Tuono. But I thought what I'd probably better do is do a bit of a walk around, so I can compare what the technical specifications are like next to the Tuono. So I'm going to put them both in front of each other back at the dealership, and I'll do a sort of more detailed technical walk around and let you have a look at them side by side, so you can judge the looks as well. Well, not too bad, because some people will have different use cases for them, and what might be important to one might not be to another. But let's do that. So let's do a walk around, let you have a look at what they look like next to each other, go through the specs, and then I'll sort of wrap up with some conclusions about what my opinion is, if anyone cares. Right, catch you in a minute. Right, so let's do a walk around of these two. I mean, what you think looks good and what I think looks good are obviously clearly subjective, but
it's very difficult to make an argument to say that that is not better looking than that. I mean, I'm not keen on that front end headlight, to be blunt, whereas the front end of the Aprilia is just absolutely stunning. You know, it's got a it's got a aluminium frame and swing arm, whereas if you look at this one here, in fact, let's go through the specs properly and I'll break it all down for you bit by bit. I know people love it when I walk around when I'm doing this, but I have to. So spec wise, both the engines are pretty much the same, 659cc or 649cc, both liquid cooled. Aprilia is parallel twin, as opposed to an inline 4 that we've already discussed. Difference really is it's just a bit smoother on the Honda. Just feels a bit smoother, whereas the Aprilia is a bit more vibey, but you get, you know, considerable amount of more sort of a low down agency basically. So you've got 84.6 horsepower for Tuono, 81 for Honda. I have to say, I think it's the gearing, but the Aprilia feels considerably more quicker than a 3 brake horsepower. 44 pound-feet of torque, 42 pound-feet of torque. So very similar, but again, Tuono feels considerably more torquey. Both 6-speed. Tuono, you can get an optional quick shifter and auto blipper system, both with, but you can't on the Honda. Both have slipper clutches though. So again, from an engagement rideability point of view, that's quite a big thing. You know, people get used to those sorts of things, but you know, it's £2,000 less. So if you move on to the chassis. So this is where a big difference is, and you can tell when you start pushing on. This has got that die-cast aluminium frame and swing arm look. Just look at this. For middleweight at this price bracket, that's really nice. Whereas this is just a twin spar frame, diamond pressed aluminium, swing arm. Front suspension, you've got the Arbor 41mm upside down forks that are adjustable for rebound, preload. On the Aprilia, on the single stanchion, and on this one you've got a separate function big piston, 41mm again. These are inverted Showa forks. I'm not a suspension expert, but what I can tell you is that feels considerably more solid, flickable and confidence inspiring in the Benz than that, but that does feel more comfortable. So, you know, what do you want to do? What else we've got to talk about? So you've got Brembos, dual mounted radial Brembos on the Tuono, and then you've just got 4-piston Nissins on the Honda. Again, Aprilias were just a touch better, to be honest. Both got the same front tyre and back tyre, 180 section rear tyres, so nothing really to shout home about there. From a dimensions point of view, and I think this is where this wins out again, because this has got a 23.9 degree rake and that has got a 32 degree rake, and if you look at it from that angle as opposed to that angle, it considerably makes a difference on the flickability and how you can turn it in, and that I think is a big part of the fun factor in the twisties, for sure. Short wheelbase on the Tuono as well, which actually really surprises me. 54-inch wheelbase as opposed to 57. I assure you, if you sit on the Honda, it feels shorter than the Aprilia, and I think that's because of the fairing on the front. You obviously don't have it there, so it's probably a placebo effect really. Anyway, where this does win out though is in sort of comfort and usability. So this has got, although it only says it has a like half an inch maybe shorter seat height, it definitely feels more accessible for a shorter rider. You know, if you're smaller and shorter, you probably feel more comfortable on the Honda, to be honest. Slightly bigger fuel tank, 4.1 gallon, 3.9 gallons. And then really the other big thing is the price, which is essentially £2,000, £2,200 actually different in this as opposed to this. Oh, and the final thing, sorry I missed out as well, is the weight. It depends on how you want to measure it. If you want to measure it in pounds, kilograms. In pounds, this is 401 pounds. The Honda is 443 pounds. So that is considerably lighter. And again, it just adds to that, you know, fun factor in the Benz. The other big difference about this is it's got more electronics. You know, it's got all the anti-wheelie, traction control, cruise control, ABS, etc. Whereas this one doesn't have any of that. It doesn't have traction or anything, or cruise control. So it's a bit more basic. But again, I guess that's where those sort of extra £2,000 have gone really. But it's a hard argument for me to buy the Honda over the Aprilia. I mean, that's just a good looking thing. I love those wings. So yeah, right, let's head back out on the road and I'll just give you my sort of final comparison. All these specs are cool and, you know, interesting one thing or another, but ultimately what you want to know is what it feels like to ride. So I'll just sum that up now and then we'll wrap the video.
Right, so conclusion. So first things first, in isolation, without any comparison to the Tuono, it's a really solid bike. It's a really smooth engine, there's plenty of power, the gearbox is lovely, it's comfortable, it's super well built and well made. You know, you can tell like the paintwork, it's finished nicely, it's comfortable. It's really good for people who are perhaps a little bit smaller as well, because the seat height feels nice and low, it feels more compact than the Tuono obviously, but some of the others as well. It's easy to ride, so the clutch is light, the brakes are nice. You know, it's got some real good points about it. I think negative points are, you know, it's not got some of the electronics that the Tuono has, as we mentioned in the spec. You know, I think as a bike to do a job and to get you where you need to go and go to work and all that kind of thing, it'd be good. But I think as a weekend, you know, bit of fun and excitement and all the things that really a lot of people buy bikes for, it's just missing a bit of something, a bit of it's just missing a bit of excitement. He says, you know, going around these bends now and it's just, it's a bit lazy to turn in. The suspension gets, you know, a little bit out of its depth as you start to push on a little bit, where the Tuono doesn't. The Tuono thrives. These little twisty bends here, yeah, I'd love to be on the Tuono right now. You know, the suspension on this feels a bit more basic, and you know, it's a commuter bike really, rather than a sporty naked, which I don't know whether it's fair to compare them, to be honest with you, because they're really two different things. You know, that Tuono, yeah, you can commute on it if you want. It's comfortable. It's probably almost equally as comfortable as this. But the main difference, like, if you put everything aside, like, yeah, the Tuono's got more electronics. It looks better. It's sounds better, definitely sounds better, but all that aside, it's just more exciting. It's just got that something else, the Tuono, that this is missing. Boring's a harsh word, right? And this isn't boring. You know, it's still a quick bike that's going to beat most cars, and you can still have a giggle. But when you've ridden the Tuono back to back with this, as I have today, and I've spent a lot of time previously on the Tuono, which is, you know, it's in that same category. It's just a better bike. It makes you feel better. It's more of a giggle. It's more capable. When you start to really push on a bit, that's when you feel a lot of the differences in excitement. But, you know, again, in the suspension too, and the way that it makes its power, that parallel twin, and that shorter gearing that the Tuono's got, just makes it feel more urgent and more fun. And this is nice and smooth, and, you know, but just not that involving, not that exciting, dare I say. But like I say, it's a really smooth engine, so if you don't like that more vibey, sort of aggressive type of feeling on a bike, then this might be the right bike for you. It's just, what do you want to use it for? I think, but I mean, if you're asking me what I prefer and what I would think is the better bike, then, you know, clearly I think the Tuono is, just because it's more fun, and that's why I buy bikes, to have fun on. The other point though as well is that the Honda is over £2,000 less. I think this is 7.3 and the Tuono's 9.5, so it's £2,200, near enough, less than the Aprilia. It's a lot of money. You know, put an exhaust on this and get a suspension tune, or, you know, a fancy rear shock. You know, it might add a bit more to it, but really, the Aprilia's just it's just got that extra something. If it were me, I'd spend the £2,000 and, you know, enjoy that. But, you know, not everybody will think the same as me, and that's okay. So I'm trying to think of any other ways of wrapping this up. I mean, I'm like I say, there's nothing hugely negative about the Honda, other than the throttle. Actually, the throttle's way too jerky. There's so much play there. I don't know whether there's something wrong with this one, or if I get in the comment section, let me know. But that's really the only thing, the throttle. Everything else is just a steady, sort of capable bike. You know, steady Eddie. Does everything well, but nothing like particularly exciting. I mean, that's as fair enough as I can say about it, really. Whereas the Tuono is extremely exciting for a middleweight bike, or in fact, that's not even fair. It's just extremely exciting in general. You know, take the for a middleweight bit out of it. It's just a cool bike. So yeah, look, that's kind of my little head-to-head with the Tuono and the Honda. In summary, Tuono's way more exciting. Honda's great, it's very capable. If you were buying it for a utility bike, and you know, things like cost and that are a big factor, then by all means save that £2,000 and get a really good, smooth, capable, steady bike. But if you want to buy a bike for fun that can do touring and is comfortable and does pretty much everything well, go and buy the Tuono. That's the end of the video. Bit of a head-to-head. Nothing massively detailed, but that's just not what I'm like. If you like the video, I'd be really grateful if you hit the like button. It helps people see the video, and I appreciate it. If you want to see more videos from me, there's loads of stuff coming up: track days, reviews, dicking about on off-road bikes, I don't know, whatever I feel like doing at the time. Then by all means hit the subscribe button. That would be super cool. If you want to support me even further, we have a Patreon for Mostly Motorbikes. You get a lot of behind the scenes footage, access to win a track or off-road day with me, all sorts of cool stuff. Go over and check out Patreon, links on the screen now. It's not expected at all, but if you want to, you can. And it helps me do more things and invest more money back in the channel, basically, to make cooler videos for you. So big thanks to Gary at Via Moto, as always. I appreciate the lend of the bikes and the access. Go and check them out, and also Steve in clothing department. They've got a fantastic dealership there with bikes, gear, everything you want, and they're a really good bunch. So yeah, thanks to them. And with all that said, thank you very much for watching. I'll see you on the next one. Goodbye.